We have lots of good sewers, quilters, and stitchers in the Morris area. Several years ago, some of them went on a tour to a place called Cherrywood. Now, since I handle a garden trowel better than a needle, I was not part of the tour. Then I heard that Cherrywood was going to be involved with monarch butterflies, and I just had to find out more. So I called Carla Overland, and she said we could come to learn more, and here we are. Thanks, Carla.
Oh, it's so good to have you here.
Tell me, what is Cherrywood?
So Cherrywood is a hand-dyed cotton fabric, and it is created for quilting. So quilters, seamstresses, home deck people, they love to use our fabric. It's hand-dyed. We start out with a unbleached muslin, and we dye it in this gorgeous solid colors, but they're not just solid colors. They have a texture to them. They kind of look like suede. Some people think they're flannel or wool or felt because we have this tone-on-tone texture that we have a special technique. So we dye 200 different colors, and our claim to fame is we put them together in a collection, a bundle like this. So there's 12 colors or 8 colors or 4 colors packaged together in gradation. So my job, I'm the colorist, and so my whole world is all about color. So I come up with formulas. They're like recipes, and I use them, to get consistent color. And we dye about 200 yards a day, which is a lot for our little company. We have a very thriving website, but we also go to quilt shows, national quilt shows, and set up booths and sell that way. And we also sell to stores. So if you go to quilt shops around the country, you may see our fabric on the shelves.
How did Cherrywood get started, and how did you get involved?
Well, Cherrywood was started over 35 years ago by a woman named Dawn Hall. And people often ask where the name Cherrywood came from. So in Baxter here, we have a lot of woods and forests. So most of our streets are named after trees, and she happened to live on Cherrywood Drive. So that's where the name Cherrywood came from. She just took a dyeing class and started dyeing in her home and came up with this suede technique, which nobody else does. And she started bringing fabric to quilt shows, and people loved it. So I came on the scene in 2000. I was working in the advertising industry, so I went to college for graphic design. I know all about color from that and design work. And I've been sewing since I was 10 years old. I was a 4-H'er. I joined the quilt club when I moved to Brainerd, and I was introduced to Dawn. And it was all serendipity that we got together because she needed graphic design work, and I needed to get out of advertising, so our paths crossed, and now I am the sole owner of the company.
How do you decide what colors to use?
I take my inspiration a lot from nature, and I'm always dissecting things I see, not in just nature, but just everything. I'm trying to break it down into the basic colors that I see, and usually I'm thinking in 8 because I put together 8-step gradations, and we call them steps because, like, if I go from a red to a purple, I want to figure out how many steps how to get from those 2 colors in 8 steps or 12 steps. We dye 5 days a week, and we have 5 women who either work here in-house or they work from their home. And after we dye the fabric here, they press it and fold it and package it and bring it back and ready to sell.
What do you use for your dyes?
I'm using Procyon dye, and that is a natural dye made from minerals, and it comes in a powder form. I'm using recipes. It's like baking almost because I'm using cups and teaspoons and tablespoons, and we have very strict formulas that we use. There's a lot of variations that come into effect, so the hardest part is keeping the colors consistent. So we have water temperature, we have humidity in the air, we have water quality, and all these things could kind of fluctuate. So that's why in any kind of hand-dyed, the dye lots will be different, meaning if I dye the exact same formula last week as to this week, it could be slightly different. We're using a cotton muslin, and muslin is a raw form of fabric. It's 100% cotton, and it's rough enough where you can actually see the little parts of the cotton plant. So there's little flecks in the fabric. And so in our darker colors, you don't see that. But in the lighter colors, you'll see little flecks of the cotton seed. And of course, the dyes are non-toxic. And then we're using other materials like salt and soda ash.